Hello everybody and welcome to another weekly recap. Today is episode number 7. The weekly recap is mainly just a look at old school RuneScape news, community updates, and a recap of any other interesting things to affect old school RuneScape this week. We're not going to be focused on drama or anything like that, just information. I hope you enjoy and let's get started. So we only received one content update this week, and that is the new Master Clue reward as well as a few quality of life changes. So if you recall, the last month or so, we've been trying to get a reward for completing 100 Master Clues. Unfortunately, the original proposed clue rewards were terrible, and they went back to the drawing boards for that one. Fortunately, they found one that is a lot better. It's kind of a sack of scrolls, so I think it looks pretty cool and is leagues better than the other proposed rewards. The Calphite Queen head now has a guaranteed drop after 256 kills. It's kind of similar to that of the Vorkath head. Now the reason behind this is because the KQ head is actually used for the Desert Elite Diary, and people that were going dry on a very rare obscure item were getting pissed off. So you're guaranteed to get one after your 256th kill, which I think is fair considering you shouldn't have to be grinding for such a rare item just to complete a diary. There's been a new shortcut added to the back of the Alcarid Palace, so if you have 70 agility and you have the Desert Hard Diaries complete, you can access the Shanty Pass directly from your Amulet of Glory teleport. There will be new Grand Exchange offer prompts, so if you have any items left in your collection box, it's going to prompt you when you log in. And a small change to mobile as well as another prompt on Tutorial Island. So they released a mini dev blog about the mobile Spellbook rework. It's not done yet, and apparently it's a massive job, so they actually released a pretty interesting article on how they're planning on doing it, the problems they are encountering, and kind of just when it should be coming out. Seems like that should be hopefully out in the next week or two. It has to be out before mobile, so it can't be more than 3 weeks really. And that is it for content updates this week. Next up here we have a massive dev blog for the Hosidious house rework. I'm very excited for this. Mod West has been doing some excellent work on redoing what the Hosidious house looks like. Currently, it's a bit of a blocky mess. Things like the Tithe Farm take up like 1/10 of the entire map. It's ridiculously large. So this is first and foremost really a graphical rework, but there's also going to be some new content as well. Almost all of the existing buildings have been shuffled around. The Tithe Farm has been shrunk in size extremely, which is good because it did not need to be that big. There's now going to be stuff like a farmer's market, a new dungeon for Hosidious, and just the terrain's going to look quite a bit nicer. There's now going to be something called the Hosidious Dungeon. There's actually going to be some new content in there. There's going to be the Grubby Chest, which contains an assortment of food by rolling 4 times. Going to have some new things like roast beast meat, stews, meat pies, potato with cheeses, curry. 8, there's going to be a room with undead druids, which as far as I know, that's a new monster. There's going to be someone who can tan items underground, as well as a bone burner, which you can use to sacrifice bones for up to a 3 times experience multiplier. So it's actually a very in-depth dev blog. I would recommend going and reading it because there's a ton of information here. But I'm very excited for this change, hopefully in the near future. Next up here, we have an official statement from Jagex endorsing the new RuneScape Wiki and giving a little more information on why they decided to make the move. I talked about this last time, so I'm not going to go super in depth here. One thing worth mentioning here is with the switch over to the new wiki page, it's going to take a long time for the new wiki page to rise in the search engine to be one of the top results when you're actually just searching in Google. So to help support the new wiki, the best thing we can do is bookmark it and use it as much as possible. There are a few issues with the new one now, but they are working hard to iron those things out. I believe with a little more work, the new wiki is going to be miles better than the old Wikia page. On the same tangent here, there's been a bit of vandalization of the old Wikia. We definitely should not be doing that either. It's still going to be one of the largest sources of information for new players and existing players. It's not helping anybody, it's only going to be hurting players. Please don't vandalize the Wikia, even if it is extremely funny in some cases. And Jagex is currently running a RuneFest charity auction. They have a few items signed by the Jagex staff, as well as a couple other interesting items. And that is pretty much it for news in the community this week. So once again, there was a weekly Q&A. I'm just going to do a quick recap of some of the more interesting questions, so let's get started. Can the Rune Throwing Axe special hit all 4 pools at the Kraken boss? They said it would be a nice change, and 78% of people voted yes in a straw poll. Can we pay to stay in an inn or pub, or benches and seats to sit on to restore run energy? There was not any support from the moderators, although I think this would be a cool idea. How do you feel about the imbalance between Thammaron's scepter versus the mace and the bow? They said it is probably more of an issue with the balancing of magic as a whole rather than the scepter itself being underpowered. Could the Mithril Dragon's extension be increased? 30 isn't enough, 100 would be nice. They said it would be a reasonable change to increase them from 30. If you have the extension, they wouldn't change the base assignment. Could it be possible to give dragon axes to canoe guides so that you don't need an axe at specific stations? They said they liked it and they would actually look into it. Could we get the option to combine the magic secateurs with an amulet of nature to get the effect? Currently the amulet of nature is relatively useless as it is. The amulet of nature is an enchanted emerald amulet, and currently it's just used to monitor your patch. And yes, it is pretty useless. They said it might be a nice idea to somehow work the effect into the amulet of nature, maybe to get the fairy queen to imbue the amulet or something. Could there be a special animation when you receive a pet? It would be nice to be rewarded with something different for something that rarely happens. They said they're not really in favor of it, and straw poll voted 68% yes. Can you make the Saradomin sword special attack use 50% rather than 100%? It would be nice to give it a bit of a use since it's no longer the best in slot strength training weapon. They said they're not keen to make the spec any cheaper. Can monsters with additional drops on their table like Bloodveils have them crushed by the Bone Crusher? They said it is possible and that they would look into it. What do the moderators think about implementing and linking the wiki directly from the game? They think it's a very cool idea and they're keen on it. They want to look into different ideas, but they want to consider the integration as well as making sure that the immersion is not lost. Currently, there are no ways to change the look of your wrists. Can we get that changed? They said they would be happy to add it onto an NPC somewhere. Can we make the tripwires in the elf lands bigger so that you can click on them more easily? They said it's something to keep in mind now that mobile exists, but it's not game changing, so they're not really going to be focusing on it. Can we get authenticator only worlds? They said there's not really any point, however 73% voted yes in a straw poll. And that is it for the Q&A recap this week. So next up here I just wanted to have a look at some Reddit suggestions from the last week. A lot of these are focused on free-to-play changes, and that is because of course we have mobile coming out so soon and we're running out of time to make any substantial changes before the wave of new players start. So first up here, a suggestion by Stephen King is a drunk, and that is to make the Bryophytes staff free to play and give it a requirement of 40 attack and 40 mage. This would mean that free to play mages now have a tier 40 weapon like melee and ranged. One common complaint from the free to play community is that to get max mage takes like a minute. You just have to go get the wizard's hat, the wizard's robe, and the elemental staff with the amulet of magic, and you're pretty much set to go. You can wear it at level 1. When you compare it to melee or ranged, at least there is a small progression you need there. So melee, you're going to go all the way up to runite armor. Ranged, at level 40, you can wear the green dragon hide, as well as needing higher range levels for different bows. However, magic is by far the most basic, also considering that the Moshine boss is actually free to play. However, the Bryophytes staff is not. It's just kind of weird, so maybe making this free to play would actually make sense. So I think adding this to free to play would be a good change. Next up here we have a suggestion by Yellowboxes, and I really like this one. This is adding the Adventurer's Handbook in-game and make it an in-game resource built out of the wiki content. This would be so cool, and the design of the Adventurer's Handbook here looks so nice. I think this would help not ruin the immersion of the game. If it looks like it's built-in information, it's going to be so much better than externally linking to the wiki page. I think this is one of the best suggestions for integrated wiki pages that I've seen so far. Next up here we have another suggestion by Stephen King as a drunk, and that is to make the shaman mask into a mage item that would be the best in slot for free-to-play mages. Currently this is a drop from the free-to-play monster Ogre Shamans. However, it literally has no use. It's just a fashionscape item, I guess. So I guess this could be a tier 40 mage item as well, and would give a use for some of the later game free-to-play content, which the Corsair Cove kind of is. It's just kind of weird they've added these two items as unique drops from free-to-play specific monsters. However, they're not really accessible in free-to-play. It's just weird, so I think making these free-to-play would just be a good move overall. Next up here, a suggestion by Jorza, and that is the introduction of Rune Mysteries 2 and dense essence mining. Wizards at the Wizard Tower have discovered a new type of essence that they hypothesize can be used to create more runes per rune essence. Dense essence would allow you to craft 5 runes with each block. However, to counteract the fact that this would make rune crafting much faster, mining dense blocks is much slower than mining regular essence, and they cannot be traded. So at 99 mining, you'll be receiving an additional 10k rune crafting experience per hour, as well as 25k mining experience. This would directly tie these two skills together, which were initially meant to go hand in hand. Now, of course, you get pure essence just from doing PVM. This would make the link between them more interesting and make skilling more viable in this case. They would also have a store with runecrafting related merch. You could get runecrafting altar teleports for 250 points, and some other upgrades to dense essence mining. That's a cool suggestion. I hope they implement it before I start doing runecrafting. And that is pretty much it for the weekly recap, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave the video a like. I would appreciate it, and I'll see you next week.